My name is Jason Fairburn, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. That's what happens when you're an IT engineer who spends more time debugging code than reading the warning signs right in front of your face. Laura and I had been married for 14 years. She's an HR manager at a mid-sized consulting firm in Austin, Texas. We live in one of those cookie-cutter subdivisions where every house looks the same and everyone pretends their life is Instagram perfect. 2 daughters, Beth who's 12 and sharp as a tack, and Janie who's 9 and still believes in fairy tales. The first crack appeared 6 months ago during dinner. Laura was picking at her salad, scrolling through her phone like she was expecting a message from the president. "You know what I realized today?" she said without looking up. "What's that?" I asked, cutting up Janie's chicken. "I don't have to cook, clean, or even pretend to enjoy your company anymore. I'm financially independent now." Beth looked up from her plate. Even at 12, she could sense the tension. "What does that mean, Mom?" Beth asked. Laura finally put her phone down. "It means I'm a modern woman who doesn't need anyone to take care of me." I should have paid attention to that statement, should have asked follow-up questions. Instead, I made a joke about how she hadn't cooked dinner in 3 years anyway, and we all laughed. Well, everyone except Laura. The second crack came when I noticed her phone habits. Laura used to leave her phone everywhere: kitchen counter, bathroom sink, coffee table. Suddenly, it was glued to her hand. She'd get texts at midnight and claim it was work. She'd disappear into the bathroom for 20-minute phone calls. "It's the Henderson account," she'd say. "You know how demanding clients can be?" The Henderson account must have been very demanding because it required weekend trips to Dallas, late-night strategy sessions, and apparently a whole new wardrobe. Laura started buying clothes I'd never seen her wear: tight dresses, expensive perfume, gym memberships she actually used. My coworker Eli noticed the changes when Laura showed up to the company picnic. "Dude, your wife looks amazing," he said, watching Laura chat with a group of wives near the dessert table. "What's her secret?" "Apparently not being married to me," I said. Eli laughed, but I wasn't joking. The third crack became a canyon 3 months ago when I overheard Laura talking to her best friend Veronica. They were in our kitchen, sharing a bottle of wine while I was supposedly watching TV in the living room. "Jason's like a golden retriever who pays the mortgage," Laura said. "He's loyal, reliable, and completely predictable." Veronica's laugh was sharp. "At least he's house-trained." "Barely. He still leaves his socks on the bedroom floor." "So why don't you just leave him?" There was a pause. I held my breath. "Because I'm not ready yet. I need to make sure I'm completely secure first. Plus, the girls need stability." "What about Scott?" My stomach dropped. Scott. There was a Scott. Scott understands that I'm in a complicated situation. He's patient. Patient and gorgeous. Girl, you're living the dream." That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Laura slept beside me, or pretended to sleep. I started connecting dots I'd been ignoring for months. The late nights, the new clothes, the sudden interest in fitness, the way she'd started picking fights over nothing. The final crack came last Tuesday. Laura announced she was going to Dallas for a 3-day conference. Something about new HR regulations and team-building exercises. "Which hotel?" I asked casually. "The Marriott downtown. You have all the details if there's an emergency." Except she didn't give me any details. And when I called the Marriott downtown Dallas, they had no record of any HR conference that week. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed my wife. Laura left Thursday morning in her silver SUV, the one I'd helped her pick out 2 years ago. She kissed me goodbye like she meant it, hugged the girls, and promised to bring them souvenirs from Dallas. I waited 30 minutes, then got in my old pickup truck and drove toward the highway. I felt ridiculous, like a character in a bad movie. But I had to know. Laura didn't take the highway to Dallas. She took the exit toward downtown Austin and pulled into the parking lot of a boutique hotel I'd never heard of. The kind of place that charges $300 a night for ambiance and Egyptian cotton sheets. I parked across the street and watched through my windshield as Laura walked into the lobby. She wasn't alone. The man with her was tall, muscular, and wearing the kind of tight polo shirt that screams, "I spend more on protein powder than most people spend on groceries." He had his hand on the small of Laura's back, guiding her toward the elevators like he owned the place. I sat in my truck for 2 hours, taking pictures with my phone and trying to process what I was seeing. My wife of 14 years, the mother of my children, was having an affair with a guy who looked like he'd stepped out of a fitness magazine. When they finally came back down to the lobby, they were laughing about something. Laura looked happier than I'd seen her in months. The man, Scott presumably, kissed her goodbye in full view of anyone who cared to watch. I followed Laura home, staying far enough back that she wouldn't notice. She pulled into our driveway at exactly the time she would have if she'd actually driven to Dallas. That night, Laura came home at 3 a.m. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, waiting. "How was Dallas?" I asked. She jumped. "Jason, you scared me. What are you doing up?" "Couldn't sleep. How was the conference?" Laura set down her purse and started her performance. "Oh, you know how these things are. Boring presentations, terrible coffee, networking events that go way too late." "Learn anything interesting?" "The usual stuff. New regulations, compliance issues." She was already heading toward the stairs. "I'm exhausted. We'll catch up tomorrow." "Laura." She stopped, one foot on the bottom step. "Do you want to tell me who Scott is? Or should I introduce myself next time?" The color drained from her face. For a moment, she looked like she might deny it, might try to gaslight me into believing I was imagining things. Instead, she lifted her chin and gave me a look I'd never seen before. Cold, calculating, almost relieved. "I guess we need to talk." Laura didn't come downstairs until noon the next day. I'd already made breakfast for the girls, driven them to school, and spent 3 hours researching divorce attorneys online. When she finally appeared in the kitchen, she looked like she'd spent the morning preparing for battle. "We need to discuss this like adults," she said, pouring herself coffee from the pot I'd made hours earlier. "I'm listening." Laura sat across from me at the kitchen table where we'd shared thousands of meals, helped the girls with homework, and planned family vacations. Now it felt like a negotiation table. "First, I want you to know that this isn't about you." I almost laughed. "My wife having an affair isn't about me?" "It's about me finding myself, discovering who I am outside of this marriage." "And who are you, Laura?" She straightened her shoulders. "I'm a successful, independent woman who doesn't need anyone's permission to live her life." "What about our daughters?" "What about them? They'll be fine. Children are resilient." I stared at her, trying to find traces of the woman I'd married. The woman who used to cry during commercials about lost puppies, who insisted we keep every drawing the girls had ever made. "How long?" I asked. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." Laura sighed like I was being unreasonable. 6 months. 6 months. While I was working overtime to pay for her new wardrobe, she was building a relationship with someone else. "Are you in love with him?" "Scott makes me feel alive again. He sees me as a woman, not just a mother and a paycheck." "I see you as my wife." "That's the problem, Jason. You see me as your wife, your property. Scott sees me as Laura." The manipulation was so smooth I almost bought it. Almost started apologizing for not appreciating her enough, for taking her for granted, for being the kind of husband who leaves socks on the bedroom floor. Instead, I asked, "What do you want?" "I want a separation. I want to explore this relationship without sneaking around." "And the girls?" "Joint custody. We'll figure it out." Laura made it sound so reasonable, so modern and mature. 2 adults consciously uncoupling, putting their children first, maintaining respect and dignity throughout the process. "Where will you live?" "Veronica said I can stay with her until I find my own place." Of course, Veronica was involved. Laura's best friend had been divorced 3 times and treated marriage like a subscription service you could cancel any time. "What about money?" "I have my own income. I don't need your support." That's when I realized Laura had been planning this for months. She'd calculated the finances, arranged temporary housing, and probably consulted an attorney. The only thing she hadn't planned for was getting caught. "I need time to think," I said. "Take all the time you need, but I'm moving out this weekend." After Laura left for work, I called in sick and spent the day making my own plans. If Laura wanted to play hardball, I was ready to play. First, I called our bank and discovered that Laura had opened her own checking account 3 months ago. She'd been gradually transferring money from our joint account, not enough to trigger alerts, but enough to build a substantial safety net. Second, I called our credit card companies and found out about purchases I'd never seen, hotel rooms, expensive dinners, clothing from stores I'd never heard of, all charged to cards I was paying off. Third, I drove to Laura's office. "Jason." Her assistant seemed surprised to see me. "Laura's in a meeting, but I can get her if it's important." "Actually, I wanted to ask you about the conference in Dallas this week." The assistant looked confused. "Conference? Laura didn't go to any conference. She took personal days." "Personal days?" "Thursday and Friday. She said she needed a long weekend." I thanked the assistant and left before Laura could find out I'd been there. But the seed was planted. Her coworkers now knew she'd lied about a business trip. That evening, I picked up the girls from school and took them for ice cream. I needed to prepare them for what was coming without destroying their relationship with their mother. "Dad, is Mom going away again?" Beth asked. "Why do you ask?" "She's been packing clothes when she thinks we're not looking." Beth was too smart for her own good. "Your mom and I are having some grown-up problems," I said carefully. "She might stay somewhere else for a while." "Like Aunt Jennifer when she got divorced?" Janie asked. "Something like that." Beth studied my face. "Is it because of the man who keeps texting her?" My heart stopped. "What man?" I saw his name on her phone. Scott. He sends her pictures. I wanted to ask what kind of pictures, but Beth was 12 years old. She shouldn't have to deal with any of this. "Everything's going to be okay," I said, hoping it was true. That night, Laura came home with moving boxes. She'd obviously spent her lunch break shopping for supplies. "I thought we were going to discuss this more," I said. "There's nothing to discuss. I've made my decision." Laura started packing like she was fleeing a natural disaster. Clothes, jewelry, books, pictures, anything that belonged specifically to her went into boxes. "What should I tell the girls?" "Tell them I'm taking some time to figure things out." "And when they ask when you're coming back?" Laura stopped packing and looked at me. "I don't know, Jason. Maybe I'm not." She moved out Saturday morning while the girls were at soccer practice. I came home to find half our bedroom empty, several pieces of furniture missing, and a note on the kitchen counter. "I'll call the girls tonight. We need to discuss custody arrangements and financial support. This doesn't have to be ugly. Laura." I crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. If Laura thought this was going to be clean and civilized, she was about to learn otherwise. Because here's what Laura didn't know. I'd spent 14 years as her husband, but I'd spent 20 years as an IT engineer. And IT engineers are very good at finding information that people think they've hidden. I opened my laptop and started digging. Sunday morning, while the girls were sleeping in, I became a man I never thought I'd be. I sat at my kitchen table with Laura's old laptop, the one she'd abandoned when her company gave her a new one, and started excavating my marriage. Laura thought she'd been careful, but she'd made the classic mistake of someone who doesn't understand technology. She'd logged into everything on this computer and never logged out. Her email was a gold mine. 6 months of correspondence with Scott Williams, age 40, self-described entrepreneur and fitness enthusiast. The early emails were flirtatious but innocent. By month 3, they were planning weekend getaways and discussing Laura's situation at home. "Jason suspects something," Laura had written 2 weeks ago. "He's been asking questions about my schedule." Scott's response made my jaw clench. "Maybe it's time to stop hiding. You deserve to be happy, babe." Babe. My wife of 14 years was someone's babe. I kept reading. Scott owned a small gym called Elite Fitness on the east side of Austin. He drove a red Mustang convertible and lived in a condo complex with a pool and a hot tub. He was divorced, no kids, and according to his social media profiles, spent most of his free time taking shirtless selfies. Laura had been financing their relationship. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, weekend trips to San Antonio and Houston, all charged to credit cards that I was paying off while working overtime to cover our increased expenses. The girls woke up around 10, and I closed the laptop to make them pancakes. Normal Sunday morning routine, except their mother was living with her best friend and planning to introduce them to her boyfriend. "When is Mom coming home?" Janie asked, drowning her pancakes in syrup. "I don't know, sweetheart." Beth looked up from her phone. She posted pictures on Instagram. She's at some fancy brunch place with Aunt Veronica. I wanted to see the pictures, but I didn't want to give Laura the satisfaction of knowing I was checking her social media. "Can we call her?" Janie asked. "After breakfast." Laura answered on the 4th ring, sounding breathless and happy. "Hi, girls. How are my babies?" I put the phone on speaker so both girls could talk to her. Laura sounded like she was at a party. Lots of background noise, laughter, music. "Where are you, Mom?" Beth asked. "I'm having brunch with some friends. Girl time, you know? When are you coming home?" There was a pause. "We talked about this, remember? Mommy needs some time to figure things out." "But when?" Janie's voice was getting smaller. "Soon, baby, I promise. And guess what? Next weekend, you're going to meet someone very special to me." I grabbed the phone. "Laura, we need to discuss that." "Discuss what?" "The girls should meet Scott. He's an important part of my life now." "Not yet. They need time to adjust." "Don't tell me how to handle my relationship with my daughters, Jason." She hung up. Beth was staring at me. "Who's Scott?" I sat back down at the table. He's someone your mom has been spending time with. Like a boyfriend. Something like that. Is that why she left? I wanted to lie, to protect them from the ugly truth, but Beth was too smart, and lies would only make things worse later. Yes. Janie started crying. Beth put her arm around her little sister and gave me a look that was far too mature for a 12-year-old. What are we going to do, Dad? Good question. After lunch, I drove to Elite Fitness. I needed to see Scott Williams in person to understand what Laura found so irresistible about him. The gym was exactly what I expected. Lots of chrome and mirrors, motivational posters, and music loud enough to wake the neighbors. Scott was easy to spot. He was training a middle-aged woman on the leg press machine, wearing a tank top that showed off his arms and a smile that probably melted hearts regularly. I watched him for 20 minutes. He was handsome in an obvious way, the kind of guy who knew he was good-looking and used it to his advantage. He flirted with every woman in the gym, but it seemed harmless. Professional charm. What bothered me wasn't his looks or his personality. It was how young he made Laura feel. I'd seen her with him at the hotel, laughing and glowing like a teenager. When was the last time I'd made her laugh like that? I left the gym without introducing myself. I wasn't ready for that confrontation yet. Monday morning, I called Marcia Klein, the divorce attorney I'd researched online. She had excellent reviews and a reputation for being tough but fair. Mr. Fairburn, I've reviewed the information you sent over. You have a solid case for infidelity, and the financial evidence suggests your wife has been planning this separation for some time. What are my options? That depends on what you want. Do you want to try to save the marriage, or do you want to protect yourself and your daughters? I thought about Laura's cold expression when I'd confronted her, the way she'd dismissed 14 years of marriage like it was a job she'd outgrown. Protect my family. Then we need to move fast. I'm going to recommend some immediate steps to secure your assets and establish a paper trail. Marcia walked me through the process. Close joint accounts, document all marital assets, gather evidence of Laura's affair and financial misconduct, file for temporary custody of the girls. What about Laura's claim that she doesn't need my financial support? Marcia laughed. Mr. Fairburn, I've been doing this for 25 years. Trust me, she'll need support. And based on what you've told me about her spending habits, she's going to need it sooner than she thinks. That afternoon, I went to our bank and moved my direct deposit to a new account in my name only. I also discovered that Laura had tried to access our joint savings account that morning and been denied. She'd already burned through her secret stash. My phone rang at 4:30 p.m. What did you do? Laura's voice was furious. I protected my family's financial security. You locked me out of our accounts. I secured the assets of our marriage pending legal resolution. I need money, Jason. I have expenses. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you started your affair. This is financial abuse. No, Laura. Financial abuse is using marital credit cards to fund hotel rooms for your boyfriend while your husband works overtime to pay the bills. She hung up. An hour later, Veronica called. Jason, you need to give Laura access to money. She's practically homeless. She's living with you. Temporarily, she needs to be able to support herself. Then she should get a job. Oh, wait, she has one. Don't be cruel. Cruel? Veronica, my wife left me for another man and expects me to finance her new relationship. How is protecting myself cruel? She's the mother of your children? Yes, she is. And those children are living with me while she's playing house with her boyfriend. Veronica hung up too. That evening, Beth helped me make dinner while Janie set the table. We were developing new routines, finding our rhythm as a family of 3. Dad, are you going to start dating someone too? Beth asked while stirring the pasta sauce. Why do you ask? Because Mom did. So now it's your turn, right? I looked at my 12-year-old daughter, who was trying to make sense of her parents' broken marriage using the logic of playground justice. I'm not thinking about dating anyone right now. I'm thinking about taking care of you and your sister. Good, she said. We need you. After the girls went to bed, I opened Laura's laptop again. She'd been busy. New emails to Scott, complaining about my controlling behavior and financial manipulation. She was painting herself as the victim of an abusive marriage, trapped by a husband who was now showing his true colors. Scott's responses were predictably supportive. He called me names I won't repeat and promised to take care of Laura. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Marcia Klein. Then I started planning my next move. Tuesday morning brought the first real battle. Laura showed up at the house at 7 a.m., just as I was getting the girls ready for school. We need to talk, she said, pushing past me into the kitchen. Girls, go finish getting ready, I said. Mom and I need to discuss some things. Beth grabbed Janie's hand and led her upstairs, but I knew she'd be listening from the top of the stairs. Beth didn't miss anything these days. You can't cut me off financially, Laura said. I have rights. So do I. And so do our daughters. This is about them. They need their mother to be stable and secure. Then maybe their mother should have thought about stability before she started an affair. Laura's face flushed. I'm not going to let you punish me for being honest about my feelings. Honest? Laura, you lied to me for 6 months. You lied to your coworkers about fake conferences. You used our credit cards to finance hotel rooms with your boyfriend. That's not honest. That's fraud. I never meant for it to happen this way. How did you mean for it to happen? Were you planning to ask my permission first? Laura sat down at the kitchen table and put her head in her hands. For a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married, vulnerable, uncertain, human. I was going to tell you eventually. When? After you drained our savings account? After you'd moved in with Scott permanently? I don't know. I was scared. Of what? Of this. Of you hating me. Of the girls hating me. I sat down across from her. I don't hate you, Laura. But I'm not going to make this easy for you either. She looked up. What do you want? I want you to be honest with the girls about why you left. I want you to stop using our credit cards. And I want you to introduce Scott gradually, not next weekend. Those are reasonable requests. And I want you to go to marriage counseling with me. Laura's expression hardened. No. Why not? Because I don't want to save this marriage, Jason. I want out. Then you can pay for your own way out. After Laura left, I drove the girls to school and went to work. I'd been neglecting my job for a week, and my boss was starting to notice. Everything okay at home? Eli asked when he found me staring at my computer screen without typing. Laura moved out. Damn, man, I'm sorry. She's having an affair. Eli's eyebrows shot up. With who? Some gym owner named Scott Williams. Wait, Scott Williams from Elite Fitness? I turned to look at him. You know him? I know of him. My ex-girlfriend used to work out there. Said he was a creep who hit on all the married women. What else did she say? That he had a reputation. Older women, usually going through rough patches in their marriages. He'd swoop in, make them feel young and desirable, then move on when things got complicated. My stomach dropped. How many women? She said at least 3 that she knew of. All ended badly. I spent my lunch break researching Scott Williams online. Eli was right. Scott had a pattern. His social media was full of pictures with different women, always older, always well-dressed, always looking at him like he was their salvation. Laura wasn't special. She was just his current project. That afternoon, I got a call from Beth's school. Mr. Fairburn, we need you to come in. Beth got into an altercation with another student. I left work early and found Beth sitting in the principal's office, arms crossed, looking defiant. What happened? Madison said her mom told her that our mom left us for another man, Beth said. She said it was because you weren't a good husband. My heart broke a little. What did you do? I told her to shut up. Then I pushed her. The principal, Mrs. Rodriguez, leaned forward. Beth, we understand you're going through a difficult time at home, but we can't have students pushing each other. She was lying about my dad. I'm sure she was just repeating something she heard at home, Mrs. Rodriguez said gently. Sometimes adults say things without thinking about how it affects children. After we left the school, I took Beth for ice cream and let her talk. Is it true what Madison said? Did Mom leave because you weren't a good husband? What do you think? Beth considered this seriously. I think Mom left because she wanted to. You didn't make her do anything. You're right. Are people going to keep talking about us? Probably. People like to gossip. I hate it. I know, but it'll get better. When? I wished I had an answer for her. That evening, Laura called to talk to the girls. She was at Scott's place. I could hear him in the background, talking loudly about some business deal. How was school today? Laura asked. Beth got in trouble, Janie announced before I could stop her. What happened? I took the phone. We'll discuss it privately. If it involves my daughter, I have a right to know. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you moved out. I hung up and immediately regretted it. Using the girls as weapons would only hurt them more. Laura called back 5 minutes later. Don't you dare keep my children from me. I'm not. But I'm also not going to let you parent them from your boyfriend's couch. Scott is not just my boyfriend. This is a serious relationship. Laura, you've known him for 6 months. Sometimes you just know when something is right. Like you knew our marriage was right 14 years ago? There was a long pause. That was different. I was different. No, you were the same person. You just didn't have as many options back then. After the girls went to bed, I made a decision. I was tired of being reactive, tired of responding to Laura's moves instead of making my own. It was time to go on the offense. I opened my laptop and started typing an email to Laura's boss, Mr. Phelps. I'd met him at several company events over the years. He was old school, traditional, and very concerned about his company's reputation. Dear Mr. Phelps, I wrote, I thought you should know that Laura has been using company time and resources to conduct a personal affair. She's been claiming business trips that don't exist and using work as an excuse for personal absences. I have documentation if you're interested. I attached screenshots of Laura's emails about fake conferences and her credit card statements showing hotel expenses on days she claimed to be working. Then I hit send. The next morning, Laura called me at 6 a.m. You got me fired. I didn't get you fired. Your behavior got you fired. I'm going to sue you for interference with my employment. Good luck with that. Everything I sent your boss was true. You're destroying my life. No, Laura. You destroyed your own life. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. She hung up, but I knew this was just the beginning. The war was officially on. 3 weeks later, everything came to a head on a stormy Thursday night in November. Laura had been staying with Scott since losing her job, but their relationship was falling apart faster than her marriage had. I knew this because Veronica had called me 2 days earlier. Jason, I think I made a mistake, she said. Laura's been lying to everyone, including me. What do you mean? She told me you were abusive, that you controlled her money and isolated her from friends. But I've been watching her with Scott, and she's doing the same things to him that she did to you. Such as? Spending his money, lying about where she's been, flirting with other men, and she's been bad-mouthing you to anyone who'll listen, making up stories. Veronica sent me a flash drive with recordings of Laura's phone calls, screenshots of her social media posts, and evidence of her attempts to turn mutual friends against me. Why are you giving me this? I asked. Because I'm tired of her drama, and because your daughters deserve better. That Thursday evening, I was helping Janie with her math homework when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see Scott's red Mustang in my driveway. Girls, go upstairs, I said. But Dad? Now. I opened the door to find Scott Williams standing on my porch, soaking wet from the rain. He was bigger than I'd expected, clearly muscled from years in the gym, but he looked tired, frustrated, and angry. We need to talk, he said. About what? About Laura. About this whole situation. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. What about it? She's been lying to both of us, man. About everything. I'm listening. Scott ran his hand through his wet hair. She told me you were this controlling jerk who never appreciated her. But then she moved in with me and started trying to control everything I do. My friends, my business, my money. Sounds familiar. She's been using my credit cards, going through my phone, questioning every woman who comes into my gym. This morning she demanded I fire my female trainers because she doesn't trust them around me. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. What do you want from me, Scott? I want her gone. But every time I try to break up with her, she threatens to tell everyone I seduced a married woman and ruined her family. Didn't you? Scott looked uncomfortable. It wasn't like that. She came on to me. Said her marriage was over, that you two were just staying together for the kids. And you believed her? I wanted to believe her. She's beautiful, smart, successful. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. But now you know better. Now I know she's crazy. She's been calling my ex-wife, my business partners, my family, telling them we're getting married, that I'm going to support her kids. Are you? No way, I'm done. That's when Laura's silver SUV pulled into the driveway behind Scott's car. She got out, saw us talking, and her face went white. What's going on here? She demanded. Scott was just telling me about your relationship, I said. Scott, get in the car. We're leaving. No, Laura, we're done. You don't mean that. Yes, I do. I want you out of my place by tomorrow. Laura looked back and forth between us, realizing she was losing control of the situation. Fine. Jason, I'm coming home. No, you're not. This is my house, too. Not anymore. I filed for divorce yesterday. You'll be served with papers tomorrow. You can't do this to me. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm protecting my daughters from your chaos. That's when Laura completely lost it. She started screaming, calling me names, threatening to take the girls away from me. Scott tried to calm her down, but she turned on him too. You're both pathetic, she yelled. I deserve better than this. The neighbors started coming out of their houses to see what was happening. Mrs. Chen from next door was recording everything on her phone. The whole scene was being broadcast to our subdivision's social media groups in real time. "Laura, you need to leave," I said calmly. "I'm not going anywhere." She tried to push past me to get into the house, but I blocked her path. "The girls don't need to see this. They need to see what kind of man their father really is." That's when Beth appeared in the doorway. "Mom, stop." Laura turned around, and for a moment her expression softened. "Beth, baby, Mommy's just trying to work things out with Daddy." "No, you're not. You're being mean and loud and embarrassing." "I'm fighting for our family." Beth looked at her mother with the kind of clarity that only children possess. "No, Mom. You left our family. Dad's been taking care of us while you've been playing house with him," she pointed at Scott. Laura's face crumpled. "You don't understand. I understand that you chose him over us, and now he doesn't want you either." The truth of it hung in the air like the storm clouds above us. Laura had gambled everything on a relationship with a man who barely knew her, and she'd lost. Scott got back in his car without another word and drove away, leaving Laura standing in my driveway in the rain. "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked, and for the first time in months, she sounded genuinely lost. "That's not my problem anymore, Laura. I'm the mother of your children. Yes, you are. And when you're ready to act like it, we can discuss custody arrangements. Until then, you need to figure out your own life." I went inside and locked the door. Through the window, I watched Laura sit in her car for 20 minutes before finally driving away. Beth was waiting for me in the kitchen. "Is it over?" she asked. "The hard part is?" "What happens now?" "Now we move forward, just the three of us." "Will Mom be okay?" I looked at my daughter, who was still worried about the woman who had abandoned her for a man she'd known for 6 months. "Your mom will figure it out. She always does." "But will she be happy?" "I don't know, sweetheart, but that's not our responsibility anymore." 6 months later, Laura moved back to her hometown in Oklahoma to live with her parents. She sees the girls every other weekend and has started therapy. Scott sold his gym and moved to California. As for me, I learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to play someone else's game. Laura wanted drama, chaos, and control. Instead, I gave her consequences, boundaries, and the space to face what she'd done. The girls and I are doing fine. Better than fine, actually. We've found our rhythm, our new normal. And for the first time in years, our house feels like home.